Greetings, Andy here again. Now, the other day I was driving back, several hours drive back from visiting my daughter, and usually when I'm on a long drive, I just play shuffled tracks from the many albums I've sort of loaded onto my phone, and one track came on which was a live track with an extended guitar solo from one of my favourite bands of old and favourite guitarists, and it made me think about just how sort of underrated he is and how many other guitarists are viewed as underrated. So I've decided to do my top five, but I really struggled, from a slightly longer list. So I'm going to also show the four honourable mentions, which could easily have got into my top five. So underrated, what do I mean by that? Because, none of these are sort of unknown. They're all very well known and very well appreciated. It's just that they don't get mentioned in the same breath in the pantheon of greats of guitarists, and in some ways unfairly, because these are all absolutely superb guitarists, which in another year and another age may well have been in that pantheon. So I'm going to whiz through. I'm just going to flash the albums. I'm not going to go into them. I'm going to try and make this quick. And I'll apologise because I haven't taken the polythene covers off in the interest of speed, because I'm rushing today. So let's start with my number five, and that is Rory Gallagher. And here he is, a live album. So I've got two of his, I'm showing two, and also this one is his, it's a reissue, 50th anniversary reissue and remaster of his debut solo. So Rory, obviously, well-known Irish guitarist, was in the sort of blues rock band Taste before going solo in the very early 70s. Absolutely cracking guitarist, and supposedly, urban myth or true, I don't know, but supposedly a journalist asked Jimi Hendrix what it was like to be the greatest guitarist in the world, and he says, "I don't know, go and ask Rory Gallagher." So there we go, number five, Rory. Now, there's a thing about great guitarists and something about being shredding it and being able to make the guitar cry and sing. So my number four is the one who sang about the guitar crying and singing, and that is Mark Knopfler of Dire Straits. A very different style. It didn't really shred, but some superb guitar licks. I've got pretty well all their early ones in one form or another. So this one is their debut, and it's my original, so it dates from the day. And of course, this one has Sultans of Swing, where he sang that. Also have Brothers in Arms. Now, this is a recent reissue. It's a half-speed remastered on a double. This. As far as I can remember, when it first came out in the 80s, a rare record I bought in the 80s, but I think the only one that I can remember that I ever bought on pre-recorded cassette for the car at the time. I haven't kept it. I don't have any cassettes, so I did rebuy it on CD later in the 90s, and I've now bought it on vinyl. So another great record, and particularly the title track, Brother in Arms, absolutely superb. So my number three, I've talked about many times, one of my favourite guitarists of all times, and that is Tony T.S. McPhee of the Groundhogs. Great blues guitarist and then blues rock. Could really play. Now, I've got a lot of their early stuff, originals, but I've been recollecting the reissues which Fire Records have done, because they're absolutely superb, often with coloured vinyl. Possibly his greatest sort of guitar track is on this album, and is Cherry Red, and this particular one is very resplendent in cherry red. But they've also done quite a few others. So this is Thank Christ for the Bomb, which came out the one before Split, and has been cited by a lot of punk bands as a real influence. And again, this is known as the Private Press, and it was a Fire Records reissue. Another one I did have at the time, but then lost, which was I think the one after Split, along with Hogwash. They both came out the same year. And again, this one's in yellow, as I say, it's a Fire Records. And I got this one. So this is a very rare one. This is a test pressing of that particular one. So this is Fire Records test pressing, one of only 3, which I happen to have. So my number 2 is the late great Eddie Hazel, who played in Funkadelic, and famously on this album, the title track, Maggot Brain, which lasts about 10 minutes on here, and is essentially a 10-minute extended guitar solo, and in my opinion, humble though it isn't, is very possibly the greatest guitar solo ever cut to wax. But he's also appeared in, he wasn't playing with Funkadelic for that long, I don't think, but he was also on this one, which is standing on the verge of getting it on. And the last track on there, I don't know if you can see that, Good Thoughts, Bad Thoughts, is another one. That's about a 12. That's a great guitar solo on there. It's about 12 minutes long. So Eddie Hazel, and my number one, and the one I was talking about, which I'll come to, is Bill Nelson of Bebop Deluxe, and during the 70s now. Subsequently did lots of other stuff. I've got some great friends who absolutely love all his stuff. I like other bits, but to me, this was such a peak, and this is the little debut album of Bebop Deluxe, and there he is with his axe. Great. On this particular one, you've got Adventures in a Yorkshire Landscape, brilliant. My favourite album of their studio album is their third, which is Sunburst Finish, and their live album is brilliant, but the record I wanted to mention actually is a CD, and it's the remaster. So this was it came out a couple of years ago, 2021. This was reissued, remastered, and the CD. So it's a 3 CD set. The first CD is a remaster of the original LP, which I have vinyl from the day, but the other 2 are the complete concert from the same tour that they played at Hammersmith Odeon. So it's a complete one, whereas the vinyl LP is quite short in relative terms. It's a single LP plus an EP, but this one is 2 full CDs, and it goes out with Blazing Apostles, the great track on here. Which is, so that was the finale, and that has got a lengthy, absolutely superb guitar solo, which, extended guitar solo, which shows just how good Bill Nelson with. He's got shredding on there, he's making it cry and sing. Absolutely superb. So that's my number 1 is Bill. And so to the honourable mentions, and this first one, was originally on my number 5, and then I thought, no, I've got to give it to Rory. And this is a great guitarist who doesn't tend to make it cry and sing. And I'm talking about Robert Fripp. As a non-technical, I don't play the guitar, so I can't really say what a technical guitarist is, but I tend to think he is a technical guitarist, whatever that means. He plays a guitar sitting down. So none of the great guitarists do that, do they? And he plays Mellotron a lot. But, it's there in this massive discography of King Crimson. There's some great guitar work in there. And then, it's an album or 2 after this one. They had an extended hiatus in the late 70s before coming back in the early 80s with Discipline, during which time he played on two of my favourite Bowie albums. So, Heroes, there's some great guitar work on the title track there, as well as the rest of the album, and that's Fripp. Same with Scary Monsters, some great guitar work on there. Again, Fripp. He's just one of those guitarists which has always been there for me. Not the one which makes it cry and sing, but just a really good guitarist and deserved of being perhaps more appreciated for his guitar work. And so also I had on here Alex Lifeson of Rush, and there he is on there. What can I say? It's a power trio. It's a proggy power trio. Some people think it's more pop prog. Some people think it's more power trio. It doesn't matter. He's a great guitarist. So, perhaps the least known of these is from a Britpop era band, shall we say? And many people would cite Johnny Marr and his jangly guitar as being one of the great guitarists of that time. But I would say that actually the greatest guitarist of that era is Nick McCabe of the Verve. Now he had, I'm not quite sure which one. There's pictures on there. It's either him or him. I'm not sure which, to be honest. I did sort of look at a picture online of him, but I couldn't work out which one of those on this small one it actually is, because and similarly on there you can't sort of re-see them. But Nick McCabe had a real love-hate relationship with Richard Ashcroft, the leader of the band there, so Ashcroft sacked him a couple of times, but then brought him back in for this one, obviously realising he needed his special guitar. And then McCabe left again after this and played with a lot of other artists and was well regarded. So, for example, he played with his hero, John Martin, who equally could have been one of these, and many others. A well-appreciated guitarist amongst musicians, but not that well known in the wider world. So that was the one. And finally, last but not least, I've got to mention Prince. Prince obviously is so well known, but people don't tend to think of him as being the standard of guitarist he is. I mean, again, Purple Rain, the track has the full extended LP version of it is such a good guitar solo on there. So that's a bit of a run through. I just had the urge to share my thoughts on what I think are great guitarists that are quite underrated and don't tend to get mentions in the same breath as the pantheon of the greats. So interested to know what you think. Do you agree with some of these? Or I'm sure people will have lots of other alternatives, but that's just what I think. So thanks for watching. Cheers.